changed my mind. This love is fine.
I don't make everyone happy.
The moment that ruined their careers. Rock stars who fell from grace. Fame is a tricky beast. One day, you're on top of the world, adored by fans, dominating the charts, and living the dream. The next, everything falls apart. Sometimes it's because of a bad decision. Other times it's completely out of the artist's control. But what's undeniable is that a single moment, one scandal, one headline, one slip, can end it all. In this video, we're diving into the true stories of rock stars who didn't just fade away. They imploded. From controversial marriages to career-killing music videos, from private tapes going public to disturbing crimes that shattered legacies, these are the moments that ruined everything. Some of these artists tried to bounce back, others never recovered. But all of them serve as a reminder. In the world of rock and roll, the climb to fame is tough, but the fall can be instant. Jerry Lee Lewis was on fire, literally. With his wild piano slams and electric stage presence, he was a rock and roll pioneer. In 1956, Lewis traveled to Memphis, Tennessee to audition for Sun Records, the same label that launched Elvis Presley and Johnny Cash. Sam Phillips, the owner, was so impressed he signed Lewis on the spot. A year later, Jerry was a household name. His hit single, Great Balls of Fire, sold over 300,000 copies in just 3 weeks.
I'm real nervous, but it sure is fun. Oh, baby.
It looked like Lewis was about to eclipse even Elvis. But then came the scandal that destroyed everything. In 1958, Jerry Lee Lewis landed a massive UK tour. He arrived with a new bride, but British reporters quickly uncovered the shocking truth. Lewis had married his 13-year-old cousin, Myra Gale Brown. To make things worse, he was still legally married to his previous wife. The backlash was immediate. British media tore him apart, calling him a disgrace.
Can you tell us about that?
Yes, sir. We had a very good reception, sir.
Fans were outraged. His tour was canceled mid-run, and he was forced to slink back to the U.S., hoping for forgiveness. He didn't get it. American radio stations boycotted his music. Venues refused to book him. His nightly rate dropped from over $10,000 to a mere $250. His label distanced itself. Sam Phillips later said, "If it hadn't been for the scandal, Jerry Lee Lewis would have been bigger than Elvis." But instead, one bad decision made him a cautionary tale in rock history. Billy Squier had it all. Killer guitar skills, a unique voice, and hit after hit in the early 80s. After starting with the band Piper, which critics once called the greatest debut American rock band, Squier went solo. That's when things took off.
You keep me up together. You take me out when...
Songs like The Stroke and In the Dark turned him into a rock icon, respected and adored by fans everywhere. But in 1984, a single music video would crush everything he built. That year, Squier released Rock Me Tonight, a solid track that was climbing the charts. At first, he didn't want to make a video. The song was already doing well. But his label insisted. They brought in choreographer Kenny Ortega, yes, the same guy who'd later direct High School Musical, to stage it. What followed was a complete disaster. The video showed Squier dancing awkwardly around a pastel-colored room, tearing off his shirt and crawling on the floor. It was flamboyant and theatrical, totally off-brand for a hard rock artist. Fans were confused, critics mocked it, and rock radio stations started pulling his songs. In an interview years later, Squier said, I didn't need to do that video. It destroyed my image. It killed me. Album sales plummeted. Tour bookings dried up. Overnight, he went from stadiums to small clubs. The video wasn't just a misstep, it was the beginning of the end. In an industry where image matters as much as music, one awkward dance move was all it took. In the 1990s, Tommy Lee was living the rockstar dream. As the founding drummer of Mötley Crüe, he helped sell over 30 million records. He married Pamela Anderson, one of the most famous women in the world. But what happened during their honeymoon would turn into one of the most infamous scandals in music history. The couple filmed a private, intimate tape, never meant for the public. But months later, a disgruntled electrician named Ran Gauthier, upset over unpaid wages and allegedly threatened by Tommy with a shotgun, broke into their home and stole a safe. Inside was cash, jewelry, guns, and that tape. Soon, it leaked online. Within a year, the tape had generated over $77 million, none of which went to Tommy or Pam. Instead, they were met with humiliation and media frenzy. The backlash hit hard. Tommy's image as a rock drummer was replaced by tabloid headlines. His personal life spiraled. He began struggling with substance abuse, and in 1998, things got even darker. He was arrested for assaulting Pamela while she held their infant son. She filed for divorce, and Tommy served 6 months in jail. By 1999, Mötley Crüe was falling apart. Internal tensions were high, and Tommy quit. He tried launching a new project, but it flopped. For over a decade, his name was more associated with scandal than music. Although Mötley Crüe eventually reunited and even scored a Netflix biopic, Tommy's reputation never fully recovered.
Streets are uneven when you're down, when you're...
By 1969, Jim Morrison and The Doors were rock legends. Their shows were wild, electric, and packed with energy. But one concert in Miami would tarnish Morrison's legacy forever, and possibly for something he didn't even do. On March 1st, The Doors were set to perform at the Dinner Key Auditorium. The venue was overcrowded, with nearly 12,000 people stuffed into a space meant for half that number. The crowd was restless. Morrison showed up over an hour late, already drunk. What followed was chaotic. Morrison launched into a bizarre, antagonistic rant. "You're all a bunch of slaves," he shouted. "Let people push you around. How long do you think it's going to last?" The crowd didn't know what to make of it. Some fans poured champagne on him. He tore off his shirt and screamed for people to get naked. 4 days later, he was arrested and charged with public drunkenness and indecent exposure. Though many witnesses said they never saw Morrison expose himself, the damage was done. He was convicted and sentenced to 6 months in jail. Though he never served time, the trial dragged on. The fallout was massive. Concerts were canceled. Radio stations pulled their music. The Doors' image crumbled. Morrison's behavior, always edgy, now seemed dangerous. He died 2 years later in Paris, never getting to fully clear his name. Though the Doors remain iconic, this moment cast a long shadow and helped mark the end of the band's golden era.
We don't find the next whiskey bar. Tell you.
Eric Clapton is one of rock's greatest guitarists, a legend who helped shape blues rock and inspired countless musicians. But in 1976, during a concert in Birmingham, England, Clapton said something that would stain his legacy for decades. Midway through the show, and visibly intoxicated, Clapton launched into a racist rant. He asked if there were any foreigners in the crowd, and then told them they should leave the country. "Keep Britain white," he shouted, echoing slogans used by far-right groups at the time. It shocked everyone in the audience. Fans couldn't believe what they were hearing from an artist who had openly credited black musicians like Muddy Waters as his heroes. The comments sparked public outrage and helped ignite the Rock Against Racism movement in the UK.
But I swear it was in self-defense.
While Clapton's career survived, his reputation took a major hit. For years, he avoided addressing the moment directly. Decades later, he blamed the rant on alcoholism, admitting, "I was a full-tilt racist." Yet many critics pointed out that he never fully apologized or reckoned with the harm he caused. His music still sells, but for many, that night in 1976 will always be a dark mark on his story. John Phillips helped define the sound of the 60s. As the founder of the Mamas and the Papas, he created folk rock harmonies that still resonate today. Hits like "California Dreamin'" made the group icons. But behind the music was a troubled man, and years later, horrifying allegations would destroy any remaining admiration. After the band's short run, just 3 years, Phillips struggled with drug addiction. In 1981, he was arrested for drug trafficking, but got off lightly, receiving only a public service announcement as punishment. His reputation in music circles remained mostly intact. That all changed in 2009. That year, his daughter Mackenzie Phillips released a memoir that shocked the world. In it, she alleged that her father sexually abused her, not just once, but for a decade. It started when she was 19, under the influence of drugs and trauma. She claimed that when she confronted him years later, his response was twisted. "Don't you mean we made love?" John Phillips had died in 2001, unable to answer for the accusations. But for fans, there was no coming back. His legacy as a musician was obliterated, replaced by revulsion and disbelief. Sometimes what happens off stage is darker than any lyric could ever describe. Rock and roll has always lived on the edge, full of rebellion, chaos, and larger-than-life personalities. But as these stories show, one moment can flip everything. A shocking marriage, a poorly made video, a private tape gone public, a drunken rant, a horrifying secret. Fame doesn't shield you from consequences. If anything, it magnifies them. Some of these artists tried to redeem themselves. Others never got the chance. For a few, their actions were unforgivable. But the pattern is clear. When the spotlight hits hardest, every move matters. Careers that took years to build were torn down in days, or even seconds. Fans may forgive, time may soften opinions, but the scars remain. These aren't just stories of downfall, they're reminders that talent alone isn't enough to protect a legacy. In rock history, glory and disgrace often walk hand in hand.